Sup my dudes, Valk here. I know you guys are probably curious about how to start this game. Probably the most asked stuff I get covered, or most asked stuff I get talked about whenever I'm in my live streams. Whenever I'm normally streaming Anime Adventures, I don't know what videos I make on that game, I'm gonna be real. But I do like streaming it because I do play it quite a bit. But whenever I'm normally streaming Anime Adventures, I get asked a ton on, Valk, I'm new, what should I do? Like, what's the most important thing I should do? Well, I'm going to tell you guys there's some really good new units to look for. Really, the only new unit that you're going to want that isn't like a common or a rare, that isn't just extremely easy to get, is Ratio Sorcerer. Now, the reason you're going to want to get Ratio Sorcerer is to help you get Idol, basically. Because Ratio Sorcerer here, even pre-evoed, he spawns in with 70% crit rate. He's very, very, very good. He's good for getting Idol. He's good for running Metal Rush. He's just a consistent crit unit, which is rare because there's not a lot of crit units in the game that are very consistent. So whenever you're going over and you're starting the game, you're like, what banner do I summon on? There's all these choices. I would highly, highly recommend summoning on Stardust Crusaders, which if you click here, you can see the banner rates, and going for Ratio Sorcerer right here. He's a very good character in the fact that he's going to be able to basically guarantee your crit rate and enable you to get that Aishino very early. So now we got that put aside, that you should really look into getting Ratio Sorcerer. If you're struggling through story, there's some characters that you could really look into. One thing a lot of people really sleep on in this game is the value of the commons and the rares. They are very good. Well, they're not crazy. They're not cracked. You're not going to be like winning the game using these characters. But characters like Asta or Ardor, Half Demon, he's very good for starting players. He's very easy to evolve. There's certain characters that are really easy to evolve, and you should really look into getting them if you're a starting player. Another character is Yuno. I don't have Yuno evolve, so I can show you guys exactly how easy these characters are to evolve. Yuno, you have to take him into 10 stages. You have to get 3 beans from the metal, not the metal cooler, but the freezer raid, which is very easy to do, by the way. You could do that normal by yourself very easily. 1k orbs, 100k dollar dues, 7.5k secret crystals, and 200 spirit. All in all, this is very easy to get. This is very achievable. This isn't anything crazy by any stretch of the imagination. You can get him easily. You're good. So all you're going to want to do is clear these 10 stages, get your duplicates, and evolve him, and he's really good. You also have King Colo, another one. Look, the only thing you're missing, or I'm missing, is beans. And you can see he's got 1450 attack, raises attack, etc. Really, really strong characters, really easy to get, really, really cheap. Kong Kun, you can see 2619 attack. Gentle Joe, 3022 attack, but he does take mask, which you don't get till later on. 2619 attack. You guys get the idea. These are very easy to evo characters, super easy to evolve, and you're able to use these characters into the story and build most of the story. Now, outside of those characters, of course, there's going to be some powerhouse characters that you're going to be able to basically just beat the story with solo. But you're going to really want to try to evolve characters. Because if we compare stats between an evolved, like Asta here, you can see he's at 2191 attack, and then we go over with Asta's 2191 attack, and we compare it to basically any LR. You can see 3294. It's virtually the same, right? Virtually the same. I mean, Asta's 1,000 less, but if you look at the cost here, he's 1760 cost, and Asta is very cheap. Asta is only 850. So you're able to place these 5 Astas, you're able to get these Astas down, and you're able to get all this damage down very cheap, very easily, and half the price that it takes these evolve units. So it's going to really help you push through the story. You want to get these very cheap evolves. Now, once you get your cheap evolves and you're starting to be able to push through story, you are eventually going to hit roadblocks. But the very first thing you should do is, remember that Ratio Sorcerer we talked about? You want to go ahead and you want to click Shining Star Idol. And you want to grind all of this out. Idol postcards you can get from the Legend Stage Idol Concert. Let me go and show you that there. And in the Legend Stage Idol Concert, there are metal enemies. Metal enemies you have to crit. You have to crit to beat them. So here we can see Idol Concert, 40% drop rate on the postcards. This is the only place in the game where you can get them. And if you click here, you will see metal enemies. Metal enemies need a crit to do damage. You need to crit metal enemies to actually beat them. Outside of metal enemies, this stage is very, very easy. You really do want to get the Aishino. You really want to get your idol. Idol's a staple in every team. And once you get your idol, you can start looking towards other miracle rare crafts, which the very next one I recommend you do is not Power Reaper, because Power Reaper takes these metals, and this stage is AIDS. This stage is very hard. I don't recommend the Power Reaper. Instead, I recommend Dark Flame Lover. Dark Flame Lover is very easy to do, actually. You only have to take Dark Flame Master and Tyrant Eye and get 10 million on each of them, which is not that hard to do inside orb stages. And then you have to get the Hollow Shards, which this is the other big one that you have to get. It's you get these from the Karakura Town raid. See, Katamura City raid. You get these from the Karakura Town raid. Very easy to get, very easy raid to do. Grind up, get your Dark Flame Lover. This is a very, very, very strong unit. It is an AoE stun. This is a unit that can slot into every team just like Idol. Very good to start with. It's going to be very strong. Now you're going to be like, Valk, I have my stuns, I have my Aishino. Where can I get actual damage? Now this is where you actually are going to summon for specific characters. Now you can summon for basically anybody you want, but be careful. Whenever you're starting, you really want to avoid Evos like the LR Evos. You want to avoid Evos like this Evo, Gojo Evo. You want to just avoid these Evos because these Evos are very resource consuming. LR Evos are very time consuming, very resource consuming, and they're going to be rough. So cheap ways to get damage is stuff like One Eye Reaper here. One Eye Reaper has Bloodthirsty. So if you bring a unit that can apply bleed, there's a plethora of units that can apply bleed, like right here. They just need to have the bleeding passive. But if you bring any unit that can apply bleed, One Eye Reaper is a heal unit with Bloodthirsty, meaning that anytime they attack a bleed enemy, they're dealing 250% of their attack to a bleeding enemy. So this is good damage, easy to set up. You just have to find a bleed that you like and that you want to bring. And I'm not going to talk about the secret rares because you guys don't need to worry about those. But the crafts are your best friend. There's easy crafts, Dark Flame Lover, Aishino. Don't sleep on the early Evos. There's really good Evos that you can get down for cheap. If you don't have Aishino, you can use Investigator as money. I don't recommend it though. But basically, you want to kind of focus your resources and you want to kind of go from there. Now, another mistake while I'm talking about it, I see a lot of people make. Whenever you're using a character, please be sure to max level them. It is not hard to grind gold. It's not. Once you get Nanami, like I said, Nanami's central to everything. You really need Nanami. Once Ratio Sorcerer is in your box, you can start using gold to max your characters. And do not waste these limit break materials. These are rare. You do not get a lot of them. You want to hold on to them. But feel free to re-roll all your characters that you are using modifiers. If you click this and you re-roll them, you're going to be able to actually get some decent stats and be able to try to push them out. Now, obviously, if this is your main damage, you want to try to get all three of them high. And you're just going to click re-roll, re-roll, re-roll until you get a stat line that you really like. Sometimes it can take a minute. Sometimes it can be very quick. But you just have to keep going until you see a nice little stat line. So let's go ahead. Let's plug it out because I want to show you guys like about what it can do. But look, if you guys pay attention, you can watch the stats up here change. You can just see like the massive difference it makes in just like the base values. This is even talking about fully upgraded. So let's keep rolling until we get like good stat lines. Well, that's literally perfect. Amazing. So now you guys see what I mean. You guys can see he's at 3475 attack, 1700 cost. We took 60 off that cost. We got him even cheaper. And he's got 57 range on placement. Really, really good. And this is exactly what I mean, is that you guys are going to want to do stuff like that to get your team ready to go. And you want to have a clear and coherent strategy. Now, the very last thing for you to pay attention to, whenever you are starting in Anime World Tower Defense, you want to have a synergistic team. What I mean by that is leader skill. Who on your team makes the most sense to have a leader skill? For example, if I want to use One Eye Reaper as a lead, if I want to put him on my team and I want to use him as a lead, he leads the monster category. So here I'll click my units filter, I'll go to my categories here, and I'll go look through and I'll find a monster over here in the M's. I'll click filter again to get rid of it, and then I can look and see who all is on the monster category. So now, because I know if he's my lead, I need to find a bleed. I need to find a unit that's on monster category that actually applies bleed. Here you can see I have Mudaboy R++. Once again, a rare, a very good rare at that applies bleeding. And because he applies bleeding, I can use him alongside my One-Eye Reaper to be able to proc my Bloodthirsty. And because I proc my Bloodthirsty, One-Eye Reaper is going to get 250% attack and kill anything I'm up against. This is just what I mean in terms of thinking of your damage, thinking of your teams, thinking of all that stuff. Anyways, that's basically the video. I don't want to ramble on too long. Hopefully this helps you guys out. If you guys are still struggling and stuck in story, if you're running through like stuff like Katana Revenge, whenever you run into Katana Revenge, you're going to need to bring a DOT team, which if you're building a bleed team, which is just good for easy damage, you already have a DOT team and you shouldn't really struggle. But if you don't have a DOT team, whenever you run into the stages, you're going to run into issues. I guess I can talk about this really quick, just so you guys can see too. Whenever you're going into a stage, if you go ahead and you, like, let's say story mode, right? Let's say I'm going to go to Chainsaw Devil Katana Revenge. I'm going to select this. You can see it tells me the enemies I'm getting ready to go up against. And if I click this question mark, it'll tell me in the bottom right here exactly what it is. Fluent enemies have very high speed. Element enemies can only be damaged by an element passive damage, which is like DOT, poison, any type of DOT, which is bleeding, fire, poison, etc. This is what I mean. You can look and prepare for these stages you go into before you go into them. You just have to understand how the mechanics work, etc. Anyways, hopefully this guide actually helped you guys out. Hopefully this is like a good beginner's guide, and I'm not just blowing smoke out my wazoo. Hopefully I helped some of you guys out. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.